Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just going to do a lesson on Job chapter 1, but use Revelation 18:4 as the foundation. And so I just want to use this time of year as a way to just sort of discuss, certain spiritual truths, this Christmas season and all that kind of stuff, and just all the different traditions, that exist here in America and worldwide that are against the Bible. And giving gifts obviously to one another, of course, is a beautiful thing, and practicing generosity and all that kind of stuff, that's incredible. But this commercialization of Jesus's quote birth, which no one knows necessarily like exactly what the day is. I don't think there's any evidence that it was this time of year, but just everything that surrounds Christmas time, and essentially commercializing Christ's birth is evil, and we know that. That's obvious. You don't even have to be religious to know that Christmas is far from simply just being generous amongst people and that kind of thing. It's just, again, it's made worse by this debt-based system that we live in, and people are just way over leveraged, and all that kind of stuff. And then, this is the world that we live in, unfortunately. But I don't think there's any doubt that anyone would say that Christmas, as we practice it, understand it, is evil, here in America, for sure. And so I've been fortunate in the sense that I grew up in a Hindu family, and we never, celebrated Christmas ever, and I'm thankful for that, because it just seems like a lot of people are stressed out buying all these kind of gifts and stuff like that. It's evil to actually make giving, at a particular part of the year. If people genuinely have need, it should be whenever they need it, and not just excessively sort of, being consumption based, near the end of the year. And in particular, to celebrate Jesus's birthday, it's Antichrist. It goes against what Christ is about, literally. And so it doesn't make any sense that would be the thing that would be used to, quote, celebrate his birth, is just buying stuff, and all these toys and random things. And so that would not be the way that Jesus would ever want his birth to be remembered, for sure. So that goes without saying, I hope. And, just interacting with somebody else on the comment board, and like they were like, yeah, it's okay, if somebody else is practicing it, and then you have no choice, they invite you over, and all that kind of stuff. It's not a big deal, it's not a sin. And I would say that it is, and again, I'm a part of this, and I haven't celebrated Christmas formally throughout my life, but growing up, we still put a tree up, like a fake one. And I don't do that now, obviously, but I still had some part, in, continuing, and preserving the Christmas tradition, with the tree and the gifts under it, and Santa and the cookies and all that kind of stuff. So, my hands are definitely not clean, but it's a sin, for sure. Like that's a very sort of somber time, really, whenever Christ's birth actually was, is his sacrifice, first and foremost, coming into the earth, was almost as much as the one when he exited. He left. We would have to believe, for people who believe in Jesus Christ, and not many do, that he left the right hand of the Father, paradise, to dwell in a human body. That, first and foremost, is an incredible sacrifice, because he is in an ideal state, much less the stuff that he had to go through afterwards, listening to stupid people, and then ultimately them crucifying him. And so that's a very somber time, it should be, for us, to know that, God dwells amongst us. And it certainly would not be celebrated and remembered and uplifted by going further in debt, and just buying a bunch of plastic toys and stuff. It would ideally be, first of all, just like introspective time, and then ministering to the poor, the people who are actually in need. But that's not what Christmas is, and we all know that. And so, it's very much evil, to take part in that. I'm glad that I haven't really had to be involved in that, too much throughout my life. And, it just looks like a lot of people are stressed, and buying a bunch of things that they can't afford and all that kind of stuff. So it makes no sense for people to get involved in that. And is it a sin to continue a tradition that is evil in any way? Absolutely it is, without a doubt. Like, it's the same with Halloween. It's like, is it better to just, not send your kids out, but still allow kids to come to your door and hand out candy to them? No, it's the same kind of thing, because again, Halloween is the same concept. It's like you're giving people candy, which is bad for them. It's like one thing if you genuinely were like handing out healthy food, some spiritual thing, flat earth related, some true like gospel thing you were sharing to them. That's completely different form of a quote gift or a quote trick or treat. That would be an actual treat, like you're actually sort of completely flipping the demonic nature of a holiday like Halloween, and just literally like it's like a fire and you're just zapping it with a fire extinguisher. That's the way I would view somebody who used Halloween to, when a person came to their door, they would give them something healthy to eat physically, or that's good for them physically, and then also share truth, to them. Both, ideally. That's different form of quote engaging in a holiday, because you're just attempting to destroy it, and then people won't come. Like we know this. If Halloween, to use Halloween as an example, if kids are smart, they talk, like they know. And I remember growing up, again, I took part in Halloween. I grew up in a Hindu family, had no reason to not. And so we would know, like people would tell us like, hey, that house they give like, Twizzlers, or like that house is giving out, something that's really, one house, if they gave out cans of Coke, that was like gold. Like we went there, even though it was heavy for us to carry. We're like, oh man, they're giving out a full can of Coke. That's like, these people are super generous. So we knew where the sugar was, like we knew where to get it. And like, we had a little network. And I remember scary for me at the time, and I think this happens a lot. Like there are older kids who just wait for us younger kids to like fill up our pillowcase with candy, and then they would just come and steal ours, and like this was actually one time it happened. And it was the scariest moment at that time for me. I thought I was like gonna die, but we ran away and we got away from them. But there was like a big economy, it was a big economy related to like, procuring candy and the best kind. And so Halloween can be quote redeemed and made righteous by when those people come, you're giving them God, or giving them in the very least something healthy physically, and kids won't come. They're like, no, those people over there. I'm using an example of celery or like carrots or something, like they wouldn't be able to preserve that. But like, let's just say there was like, that's what they were handing out. Brussels sprouts, broccoli, like no one's going to go. And then, so it just destroys it. Like you're not taking part in it. And, and then even worse probably would be things about God, and truth, and like, why are you here? Why are we all here? What is the purpose of all this? Even challenge their understanding of what's healthy for them to eat. Is our house moving? Talk about flat stationary earth, all that kind of stuff. That would create just a huge barrier around a home that did that, and rid people of evil spirits. And so it would be a way to redeem Halloween. And Christmas would be the exact same concept, is that if during that time a family decided to only receive gifts that could then be useful to go and give to the poor, and it would have to be quote useful for the poor, that's a different way, of involving oneself in various holidays, but that's a way that will ensure that no one will interact with us if we declare that, and again, I haven't had to do either of those in my adult life, but that's the only way that it can be redeemed. There's no other way. There's no like, somebody just came by, and I just don't want to make them feel bad. So, I'll just take it, and I'll just say, no, I'm going to read in Job chapter 1, God's people, and I just want to help people to understand, use this time knowing that the earth is flat and stationary to draw closer to God in a deeper way, because we're living in those days where the evil is just completely obvious, and it's just like, it's better to just completely disconnect, just separate ourselves, and there's rewards for doing that. And I'll read one right here in Revelation for those who do, including myself, if we do that. And I would just say for people, just do it. Who cares if you're offending people, even if it's your mother or your father, or your dad. We only have one Father in heaven. Your siblings, your coworkers, whatever, who cares? Just respectfully decline. All of these holiday parties, Christmas parties are stupid anyway. Like, they're just a bunch of brain dead people drunk and doing nothing, potentially ruining their career, showing up there. So it's not a big deal. It's not a major sacrifice. And so, yeah, it is a sin, to accept and give Christmas gifts for sure, because it is, it's an insult to celebrate, again, it's not even Christ's birthday, and all these people that celebrate Christmas don't even know Jesus is black. So like, they don't, obviously Christ is not involved at all. So this is like, I would say Christmas is an exaggeration, a little bit harder to discern in other kind of events, whether a person should take part in it or not. But Christmas should be obvious, like that it's completely commercialized. But yeah, we're not supposed to do that, and just whatever, people get offended, who cares? The people we're offending are idiots. And so they're involved in something that's just, especially Halloween, it's just blatantly satanic. It's like, that's the purpose of it, is to uplift Satan and the devil and all that kind of stuff. Make the devil, quote, cool, and part of everyday life. And Christmas is the same thing. That is very demonic. To first of all, to give gifts only in a specific window of time, and then to like give people things that they don't need, just unnecessary stuff, and like to be further debt ridden and all that. It's just strictly to uplift and support this consumer based nation that we live in, which I believe is Mystery Babylon. And so it's to serve Babylon's purposes, which is against God. God hates this place. And so I just, again, it's a warning to me. It's like, the more we bend, cut corners and all that, God is taking note of all this kind of stuff. And if you're in Revelation 18:4, it says, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, this message will only come from heaven. It will not come from earth. And I will proclaim this on my channel for as long as I can. But this is, they didn't make a mistake here. There's a reason for this. And I heard another, and I'll read this again. Revelation 18:4 reads, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye not receive of her plagues." Religious people won't care. Even people like the Hebrews won't care. I had end times teacher, who's the one who kind of made me think of this lesson. He's like, whatever, if my mom or somebody gives me a gift, it's fine, it's okay. These are people that claim that they're Israelites and love the law. These people are sick. Tahar claims that he's an Israelite and loves the law, but there's videos of him online celebrating New Year's. And like, Rakah is one of the, quote, apostles in his group as well, who's a Freemason, part of a motorcycle gang. Again, this is an exaggeration, but he's celebrating birthdays, and stuff, which they believe is, you'll see another video of GMS talking about how evil it is and how vain it is to celebrate birthdays. So they're involved in all these kind of customs. And I'm telling you, even religious people, even the people who are supposed to be the ones, who've received the law and are following it, they're diluting it left and right. And so like, there is no group or voice out there except from heaven telling us this. And so I want people, don't trust these people around us. They're completely stupid. They're just out of their mind. They're completely retarded. Again, Revelation 18:4 says, "And I heard another voice from heaven, saying, Come out of her, my people." Only my people will understand this. And I would just say, for people out there who have any common sense, that is the only group to be in. Everything else going on around us is completely stupid. These people are completely brain dead. And I'm talking about people who are religious and claim to be Israelites. That ye be not partakers of her sins, so that ye not receive of her plagues. Okay, if we partake a little bit, guess what's going to happen? We're going to receive some of her plagues. Maybe not all of them, but we're going to receive some. God will not be mocked. This verse is not going to be altered for anybody. And so, but for those people who do what it says, "Come out of her, my people," and we don't partake of her sins, again, her, it's feminine. This place is very feminine. It's what all these women want. They're just running around, just do whatever, like have fun, everything's fine, yada, yada, yada. This is a very effeminate vibration. But don't be partakers of her sins, and so we don't receive of her plagues. And so this is the way we communicate to God who we care about, ultimately. Do we care about offending somebody who's giving us a gift, or, we're doing some gift exchange or something like that, to be like, no, I'm not into that at all. Just whatever it costs me, I don't care. I don't want any part of that. Don't give it to me. And if you do give me a gift, want to give me something, we're going to come up with something together, and we're going to go give it to the poor. We're both of us. And so this is a way to redeem Christmas or any kind of gift exchange. You flip it, you make it consistent with the Bible. And so this is a win-win. You flipped it. And so the person knows now that you're not increasing this or maintaining this commercialized rendition of celebrating Christ's birth. Let's just say hypothetically it was around this time or whatever. People just pick this time to celebrate it. It's fine. God's not that picky, because he knows that we don't have all the history books and stuff. If a person takes, let's just say, this time to be introspective and somber and to remember the birth of Christ, he'd be okay with that. But if it means that you're part of all the other things, of course he won't be a part of that. But if a person does feel like they still want to redeem it, like in Halloween, like I mentioned, something like that, you say, whatever gift you plan to give me or I plan to give you, we're going to gift it to the poor, and we're going to go deliver it together, and I think that is an incredible way to make anything consistent with the heart and mind of God. And so that will either keep people away or it'll bring them into the Bible. And then guess what happens? That's a win-win for everybody. I win if somebody does that, because then they're going to give me a gift and we're both going to go give it to the poor. That person wins because now they've received in the part of the gospel. And then God wins because his prized possession are being taken care of during a time when he was born, or at least the person that chooses to acknowledge his birth. And so the Bible even says, and this is not symbolic, God literally puts his spirit in the poor. And so Jesus even says this: when you do that to the least of thee, you're doing it directly to God. And so it's just like giving God a gift for having to come here to earth and deal with us. And then all the other things that he went through after is an even greater sacrifice, the death on the cross. And so that's the economy of God related to holidays, and don't listen to these people, don't bend or flex for anything. Don't look at the Hebrews. They don't care about the law. They have no idea what's going on. Like the whole world, everything about the world is against God. I'm telling you, and I've tested this out. I've looked in every corner. I've moved all the items. I've checked the top shelf, bottom shelf, middle shelf. Everything is against God. Like I said, like I read Revelation 18:4, and I heard another voice from heaven. That's the only direction that we should be looking to get any instruction in this world, because everybody's retarded. The Hebrews are out of their mind. Mainstream Christianity is a complete joke. Like, it's just flamboyant. It's just a business. Every other religion doesn't have a strong stance on the good and evil going on in the world. Corporations are a part of a beast system. The people in our family, a majority of them, are not allowed to speak of the truth, or anything like that. And so this place is just completely lost. And so I want to give another example of a person who is a better example to look at than these morons like GMS and End Times teachers and all these Satanists. Job 1, there was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright and one that feared God and eschewed evil. The Bible says, be perfect, like your heavenly Father is perfect. So Job was further along that path than a majority of us. And so God calls a spade a spade. He was perfect and upright, and we'll see why. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. God blessed him with a large family. His substance also was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen and 500 asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the East. So he had a lot. God blessed him. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their fasting were gone up, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of all of them. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus Job did continually. So Job is praying, interceding on the behalf of his kids for things that he hasn't seen, but they might have said in their heart. This is how precise Job was, that even if they didn't do anything visually that they could be doing against God, that would be offensive to God, even something that they have said in their heart. Job was offering burnt offerings for that. Just in case, this is why he's like this. He would not want to sacrifice or offend God in any way, not in physical appearance and not even inwardly. And we'll see that he was tested, and he's not joking around. Like this truth, this understanding was deep, within him. We'll read in verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. Satan reports to God. That's obvious. You should know that by now if you're sub to my channel. And the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? He's just asking for the sake of this interaction for us. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. So Satan is a real entity, that has the ability to traverse the earth. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, doth Job fear God for naught? Hast thou made a hedge about him and about his house and about all he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. And so again, Satan is accuser. He is always looking for faults, excessively nitpicky. And, he is described as an accuser of the brethren, and he's doing that here. Put forth thine hand now and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. Verse 12, and the Lord said to Satan, behold, all that he has is in thy power, only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. So this is where Satan does have some amount of, quote, free will. God gives him some amount of autonomy to be evil, but he is not allowed to take his life. And so, he crafted what happened here. In verse 13, and there was a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the asses feeding behind them. Verse 15, and the Sabeans fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. And then, so it goes through all the different destructions. Everything around Job was destroyed. Verse 18, while he was yet speaking, there came another also and said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the four corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Verse 20, then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshiped God. So he hears the worst news. Like everything around him is just completely gone. His family is killed. And what does he do? He worships God and said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. Why did he not charge him foolishly? Because he said what's true. He said, I came in with nothing. So that means that everything that I have was given to me by guess who? God. And then he's decided to take it away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. That is God's. Even Job, his own life is not even his, for people who understand the gospel message, where Jesus says anybody who gives up their life, for his sake actually finds life, because they're giving it back to the person who gave it to us, for those who are wise and build their house on that understanding. And Job had that understanding before Christ was quote on the scene. So God's people did the same thing in the Old and New Testament. It's just nothing new under the sun. It's still faith, it's still logic, and it's common sense, because none of that stuff was his. And it's the same thing that we are in this day. None of this stuff is ours that we have, quote, gained. Even if we're losing it, it's God taking it back. And it's just, that's his choice, to do that. And we, like it says here, blessed be the name of the Lord. And it's not easy to do. I'm not trivializing that. It takes time to get this understanding, but I would say flat earth and all these other things, we know God exists now. So there's no reason to be an amateur anymore spiritually. There's no reason to take a lot of these other people seriously who just want to dilute the law and claim to love the law. And we don't. Like I read in Revelation 18:4, this voice, this understanding can only come from heaven. But I want people to understand that once you address, that voice from heaven, it implies God exists. And that once God exists, everything's his, and so blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. because those are God's things. God can do whatever he wants. And then for God now to display to us who's reading this, we know we have an example now, and we can build our faith based on Job's reaction to gaining everything and then losing it. And so this again is the way people of faith think. They have common sense, and they have logic, and they know that everything that is given to them is from God, and anything that is taken away is God returning it to himself. And for those who have an even deeper understanding, our own life and our own spirit is also from God. So hope everyone's doing well. Bye.